The hand we're going to show you today features Jason Mercier, a guy who's in the midst of a great World Series of Poker, and this hand from 2008 is kind of the origin, his superhero beginning.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider or anything like that, but it's four-handed at EPT San Remo in 2008. Jason is the chip leader with about 80 blinds, and his main opponent in the hand, Eric Koskas, has about 25 blinds. The blinds are, in fact, 15-30.
That is correct. This hand was suggested to us on Twitter by Oliver Telford. If you guys have a suggestion for the breakdown, tweet it at us and include a YouTube link, please.
Please.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to break this hand down as we go, so get ready for some analysis.
Really good final table, actually. I'm really enjoying it. Okay, 5-9 there for Jason Mercier. Oh, suddenly,
wow.
Now he's suddenly... Now
this is not something we've seen before, is it?
No, well, four-handed, you see. He's going to start opening up now that the four-handed... The right thing to do. Good for him. He's set up a table image.
Yeah.
He's going to capitalize on it.
80,000.
I can't see him getting called unless...
Anthony pass, small blind pass. Eric calls.
Eric's making a mistake here, I think.
Yeah.
He really is. He's calling just to try to outplay him. So if you've got aces or, you know...
Two players, Eric check in the dark.
Let's see what happens here.
Well, these are two terrible hands to be battling it out, four-handed for an EPT with huge money on the line. But one guy's making a much bigger mistake by playing his terrible hand than the other guy.
For sure. Jason Mercier opens, but he's got over 80 blinds. He's the overwhelming chip leader. This makes a lot of sense. This is the kind of thing people do when you're the chip leader and you're four-handed in a big spot. You raise, you steal the blinds. Very normal. Eric Koskas, not so much.
Not so much. Jason's basically trying to step on the whole table and say, I'm going to threaten your tournament life every single hand. You cannot compete against me. I have way too many chips, and I'm better than you. That's what he's trying to say. Eric Koskas is saying, no, you're not. I'm going to outplay you. But Eric is going about it the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, in the pantheon of bad decisions, calling with 10-3 off out of position with 23 blinds is somewhere between deciding to let Zack Snyder direct Batman v Superman and Fox deciding to give George Lucas all of the rights to all Star Wars sequels and toys in perpetuity. It's somewhere between those anyway. I don't think it's as bad.
That might be a bit hyperbolic, but the point is, Eric should just throw this hand away.
Yeah.
It's 15-30. It's 50 more K to him. He's got, as Jonathan said, around 25 big blinds. Why are you going to play 10-3 off out of position against the chip leader? And then why are you going to dark check it?
Play him.
Why'd you do that?
If you're going to play this hand, let's 3-bet it, okay?
Yeah.
Let's take it. It's a very easy hand to play if we 3-bet it. If we 3-bet it and Jason folds, we win. If we 3-bet it and Jason 4-bets, we fold. If we 3-bet it and Jason calls, we can put out a C-bet on most flops and win a lot. That sounds pretty good. That's a reasonable plan if we're going to play this at all.
At least we take control of the hand. Jason has complete control of this hand right now, especially because we dark check. Jason gets to make any decision he wants on the flop without having to worry about us putting in any aggression before he does.
I mean, what Eric Koskas really needs to win this hand is Skynet to send a Terminator back in time and get him to fold this hand pre-flop, I think.
The problem for Eric now is he's playing this bad hand out of position, and mentally, I'm sure he's thinking, well, I guess if I don't somehow flop a full house or something, I'm going to have to make some big move.
Yeah.
And that's a bad mental state to be in a spot like this.
Absolutely. We have 25 blinds.
I hate that. He's checked in the dark again.
Flop counts.
Yeah.
5, check, 6. Jason checks.
Jason
Here's
checks
the
as
turn.
well.
It's an 8.
What's Koskas going to do now?
220.
220,000.
Betting 220,000 into a pot of 187,000.
220,000. Did he say call? Oh, well, he's picked up a middle pin.
Call.
He's picked up a middle pin
220,000.
straight with his pair of 5s. So he needs a 7 or a 9. Well, he actually, as it is.
He doesn't actually need
he's
anything,
winning.
but if he thinks he's behind, that's what he thinks he needs.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm thinking in my head too.
Board is 5, check, 6, 8.
Koskas didn't like that call.
8.
I'm all
Okay.
in.
Eric all
Wow.
Very great strong play there. If Mercier can pick this up, this will be an incredible call. If he can. How much has he got to call here? 700,000. And his stack is 2,044,000. So he'll still be left 1.3 million if he calls and gets it wrong. Has he got a jack in his hand? Has he got an 8? Think it through. He's thinking it through. Checking out his body language. He's looking at Eric.
From what we've
Corner of
seen,
his eye.
from what we've seen of Jason, do we think he can make this call?
I've no idea.
Can he get a read on Eric Koskas?
I think he thinks his two pair are good here. I think instinctively he thinks his two pair are good. You remember that these guys play hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hands online. You know, they have a sort of feel for when they might be ahead. What's he got? He's got ace king. If he's got no pair, then I'm good. Could he have been betting a flush draw?
If his instinct is that his two pairs are good,
I call.
just got to decide whether to
Wow.
trust his
What a
instinct, and that's
call.
what he does.
Showdown.
What
He's
a great call.
made the call, and Koskas will show he had absolutely nothing.
That is an absolutely excellent call.
It is an excellent call for sure by Jason Mercier, and also kind of a spectacular explosion and spontaneous combustion here by Eric Koskas.
Yeah.
To really investigate how this play happened, let's go back to the turn and look at the play there.
Right, Koskas, as we said pre-flop, is going to have to make a play at some point, at least in his own mind, because he called with such a bad hand. And he starts with this enormous sizing on the turn,
Yeah.
which immediately polarizes him.
Right, he almost never has one pair when he bets this much on the turn. He certainly doesn't have bottom pair or anything close to that. He's got a draw, or he's got, what, two pair. That's it. And it gets further polarized on the river when the 8 pairs, when he bets more than the pot again. So now, again, he really only has full houses and straights for value, but guess what? All the draws missed.
All the draws did miss. Jason knows this. Jason certainly doesn't have a great hand, which is what makes this one of the most legendary calls of all time. But Koskas is super polarized by the river. He now doesn't have Jack-6. He now doesn't have 6-5. Those
Right.
hands that he could have had on the turn in that North Pole end of his range.
And he never just has a hand like King Jack, even Ace Jack, even 2 queens. If he somehow decided to slow play those and check the flop dark, he never has that when he shoves more than pot on the river. He just can't because Jason can reasonably have an 8 here.
Right, Jason played this hand a lot like he has an 8. It would be an easy check back on the flop the same way he checked back his 5 because he doesn't want to get check raised. Now he improved to trips and he's just waiting for Koskas to do something like this. If somehow Koskas dark checked a hand like queens, which would be really rare and unlikely, he's really not moving in here.
I mean, look, this would work much better if their chip stacks were reversed and Koskas was the overwhelming chip leader and Jason just had 25 blinds. Now when you move in there on the river, you're putting huge pressure on Jason. But Jason can afford to make this call. And by the way, it isn't just all this information we're talking about that Jason is processing. He's also aware of 2 things. First of all, look how quickly Koskas moves in here.
Koskas didn't like that call.
8.
Okay.
Eric all.
Wow.
Very great strong play there.
And second of all, he's like pacing like a lion trapped in a cage
Yeah.
as soon as he's all in.
He just can't help himself. He's so nervous. And
Yeah.
this is a problem. You have to be able to just sit there because whether or not this means he has a strong hand or a weak hand, he's certainly not a balanced walker. I would assume he doesn't have a lot of balance in his walking.
That's right.
Also, the snap all in, that's kind of a classic bluff tell.
Absolutely. And everything about this guy feels like he's trying to project strength, the sizing, the movement, the quickness of the all-in. But when all the draws miss and the 8 pairs, which really polarizes in such a powerful way to just a few value hands and really a lot of missed bluffs, Jason makes this call, and while it's a legendary call, I think it's a call Jason can make kind of every day nowadays and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Jason probably is going to make this call right when the move happens. He just wants to think it through, and that's why he tanks for at least a little bit before doing it.
Stick around because in 30 seconds, we're going to look at our favorite comments from last week's video.
If you guys want to see another polarizing river spot, check out future November Niner Biffs It by clicking up there.
Yep, right up there. That is a great hand. And I gotta say, one of our less popular videos
Yeah.
for unknown reasons. Check it out. It's really worth watching.
There's an interesting decision on the river, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Hey, give us a like.
That too. Do one of those. Check out our podcast and make sure you subscribe. Last week, our hand was called Tough Flop, Tough Decision. Grant's going to tell you all about it right now.
Oh, you threw me under the bus there. I thought you were doing the whole thing. Mustafa Kanit value bet a jack on a 4 straight board in a super important spot in Charlie Carroll's tournament in the EPT Dublin 25K High Roller. Got value from Ace King. It was a really difficult thing for Carroll, but he ended up calling incorrectly. And it was a super cool hand. What did they have to say?
Well, and if you want to check it out, you can just click right
Yeah,
up there.
fine, do that.
But let's hear what the people had to say.
Okay.
Nice job, by the way, with the summary.
Thank you.
Peter O'Neill says, I don't think the turn call can be good because Charlie, of course, called the turn with Ace King.
And the river.
Yep. Charlie should have over pairs and at least some weaker pairs that might also have a gut shot. I'm also not sure the river value bet can be that good. I do think Charlie should have queen, queen plus here. I think it's very likely Charlie is checking 100% on the flop.
Peter O'Neill, who has commented a lot before,
Oh, yeah.
has some good points here, but from our point of view, the foundation of them is not that solid.
Crumbly.
Because we think Charlie's always betting overpairs on this flop, just because he's got a 2-to-1 stack to pot ratio on the flop. This is a super high leverage spot for him. There are 2 short stacks sitting over there. Why mess around?
Yeah, I think you just can't screw around with 1.6 million in the pot already if you have queens. You just got to roll with it. So even though if they were deeper and this situation was not such with the ICM, yes, he could check this kind of a flop. He probably is checking these flops. They're not deeper. The situation is all ICM'd up. You just got to go with it.
You got to do it.
Yeah. All right. Also, X-Trader. That's 2 R's. He
Only
says,
2? I thought there was like 6 or 7.
2 R's,
Okay.
buddy. What do you think Canit does on the river if it bricks out or puts a heart out there?
So, can it hit a jack on the river and value bet it?
Right. Very correctly and very nicely.
Yeah, it was a cool value bet, for sure. We got to think he's probably going to bomb it anyway. Maybe not bomb it, but whatever. Bet
yeah.
it. Try to get Charlie off of his hand because Canit knows he's never ahead. Ever.
Right.
The way the hand's played out with King High.
For sure. Check call on the turn by Charlie means there's no way. You're always losing 100% of the time.
And Canit knows that Charlie's going to be check calling marginal hands a lot on the turn, so it's not a profitable play in the long run to only bet the turn as a bluff. He has to follow through.
Might he bomb it? He might really bomb it just to put Charlie in such a tough spot with the 2 short stacks that Charlie just feels like he has to fold.
Right, Canit only bet 950K, which was about half of Charlie's stack. Maybe as a bluff, he would move in. I know that's unbalanced, but it might work so much more frequently that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. They actually talk about it during the hand, too, when Charlie is talking to him, trying to get information at the end. And Charlie basically reveals that if a heart came, he was going to bluff and move in himself, which, as we know, would have worked.
Absolutely.
Unless maybe, I guess, the jack of hearts.
I don't know.
Canit maybe. I think Canit probably
That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. But I think if somehow Charlie checked, Canit probably bombs a heart also.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you guys next week.
Lates.